Hi, my name is Johanna and welcome to my channel. This video is a follow-up on the Christmas special video that I did with my son on Christmas Day. And this is about the House of Saravel. And also the fragrance White Christmas. Watch some of my other videos, I like to do deep dives into my research. I like to look at old newspaper articles and ads and see what I can come up with as far as these defunct companies or perfume houses. See what I can find out about the owners, how it started, the vision of the business, the company, and without trying, I ended up coming across shady business practices. Again, another company with shady business practices. Because you may or may not have remembered or noticed in that video, if you watched it, the one that I did with my son, there's two edits of it. He did an edit and then I did an edit as well. In my edit, I have some captions that are kind of like times when, while I was editing, I noticed some things in the article by Cleopatra's Boudoir. One is that they mentioned exhibits and they mentioned a Vogue magazine ad. And I came across references to that as well. Apparently, this company, Saravel Inc., out of New York City, only did one ad. And it was in Vogue magazine. It was September 15th, 1953. They did an ad in it. I haven't found it in the Vogue archives, but I have found it in a 1957 ad for a Coos Bay bargain store. They were using the Vogue magazine ad, like sort of like a picture of that ad in their ad, and it was a Payless store. So it was like a discount bargain type store, Coos Bay, Oregon, which is a state I live in, and they were referencing a price that was supposedly the regular price, and that they were offering this perfume White Christmas for much cheaper. It was like $1 or something, and they were offering for, but they were referencing this original price or this worth price or whatever that was in the Vogue magazine advertisement from 1953 for $18.50. So I didn't even realize, like, why were they printing the price on the packaging? Like, it's kind of like they're marketing it with that price. And like the ones I showed you that I have from, I believe, the 1980s, it has $15 printed on the carton. And $15 wasn't like, I think it might be sort of equivalent to $30 or so here right now. But from the 80s, like, that's not cheap. And I think they were selling it in like probably pharmacies or something. And so I just did some research. I also tried to do some research on this apparent founder of Saravel, the House of Saravel, Murray W. Morin. I couldn't find anything really on the internet by anyone by that name, even in conjunction with Saravel, except just a few articles. In 1935, the first fragrance, Perfidia, apparently was released by Saravel. There's a 1936 article in the San Angelo Evening Standard, August 11th, 1936, page 5. And it's a long article about, and the name of it is Family Venture at Expanding Eyelash Business Goes Boom. And then it says former Anglian written up in Big Business magazine. The name of the company is EY-TEB, a New York City artificial eyelash business. And it says that that business went bankrupt. By 1936, it went bankrupt. And then they named the owners, the new owners of the eyelash business, as Murray W. Morin and Irving Unterman. It's this article, part of it, So apparently the founder of the eyelash business was named Mrs. Compton. She had tried to be a singer, like an opera singer or something, but failed. And then even though she wore fake eyelashes, she still failed as a singer. And then she decided to start her own eyelash business in like salons or something and teaching women how to apply these fake eyelashes. And so she made her husband, it says Mrs. Compton was doing fine when she made her husband R.H. Compton, a Texas oilman, president of ITAB in 1934. But Mr. Compton tried to expand the business too rapidly, and in May 1936, ITAB went into bankruptcy. Now ITAB is owned by a couple of cosmetic men named Murray W. Morin and Irving Unterman. And Mrs. Compton is supervisor of manufacturing and publicity manager. The article goes on to say, and this is in quotes, like negative stuff said about different cultures and people. Artificial eyelashes, which used to be made of Chinese hair, are now made of French and German hair. Trouble with Chinese hair is that it is coarse and considered low class. French and German hair, according to ITAB, is lush and lovely. It goes on to say how it's tricky to apply the artificial eyelashes and that they have been teaching people, or she, maybe Mrs. Compton, teaching people to apply them to themselves in a salon or something. But I guess that this company somehow is written up in Fortune magazine. Okay, so that's 1936. That's a year after supposedly Perfidia was released by Saravel. There's an article in 1938, July 28th, in the Nebraska Beacon. And the article is called Federal Trade Commission, Washington Complaint. And it states that this Murray W. Morin was an officer regarding accusations of violating Federal Trade Commission laws with the use of trade name Renaud Paris 1817 in the sale of many of their products via advertising and on containers, creating the impression that the products were manufactured by Renaud Paris 1817, which is a French perfumer with international reputation. And this was not true. Instead, many of their products advertised were not imported from France, but were wholly compounded or manufactured in the United States. In 1941, I found an advertisement in a local newspaper, the Oregonian. Here in Oregon. And it's a Meyer and Frank, which was a nice department store in Portland, Oregon. And it's a circular for them. And it's a picture of Saravel's ice cube shaped perfume bottles. And it just says that it's Saravel's perfumes and colognes, and then it does specifically mention their fragrance called Sirocco. So this is 1941. This is before White Christmas was released. White Christmas was first released in 43? I think it was. And it says in this ad at the department store that the perfume is imported, and it's now being sold for a limited time. Only 100 are available at a significantly marked down price of $1.95. Then there are articles starting in 1953. There are two articles, one in November and one in December of 1953, talking about these Saravel fragrances, specifically White Christmas, being sold like as if they fell off of a truck, or as if someone got them somehow like a lot cheaper than what they're supposed to be. And they were referencing that article that was in September 15th, 1953, the Vogue magazine article, the one article that they purchased for this company. Well, they were, maybe you may remember, my son was reading from Cleopatra's Boudoir, and it mentioned in like the exhibits, they mentioned the Vogue magazine article from 1953. And they also mentioned that a copy of that article was being put in the packaging, like inside the box type of thing, when they were selling the fragrances, but that was being stopped officially as of 1953. They were using the Vogue magazine article or ads that said that this is being sold for $18.50. So, and people in these articles are mentioning that, and they're saying that they would trust something that was advertised in Vogue as legitimate. But these hucksters were buying large quantities, however much they could afford probably. They were buying large quantities and going either door to door or on the streets and telling people this and like referencing the Vogue magazine article, probably even showing it to them and saying, we're gonna sell it to you for $6 or maybe less. So then the Better Business Bureau was involved as well in 1953. In November 19th, 1953, something smelly sniffed as $18.50 goes for $1. This reporter hurried over to State Novelty, which is where a woman had told him she had purchased the fragrance. And at State Novelty, the reporter was offered a house-to-house peddling kit of 12 ounces. So that would be 12 bottles of this fragrance for $18. And the mailed circulars bear the return address of Glamour House, 18 West St. Clair. This is the address of the Better Bedding Company. George R. Klein, who identified himself as the sole proprietor of Glamour House, was asked how he could afford to sell an $18.50 perfume for as low as $3. He said, well, it's a long story. The importer ran into a little difficulty and needed money in a hurry. Is White Christmas really imported? He was asked. Oh yes, he said, it's got the import seal right on it. Now, if you remember, as my son was reading that from the article yesterday, he was describing in detail this elaborate packaging situation. And I was just thinking all of the labor involved, like the packaging of the Saravel fragrances, specifically White Christmas, was very labor intensive regarding gluing specific things on, like stickers and things that are saying that it's imported, and also the use of French. Okay, so it's based in New York City, and yet it's using French wording. That no one can pronounce. A 10-year-old can't pronounce it. I can't pronounce it. We don't know what it means. It's written in French, but it's insinuating, and some people are even being told that it's imported from France, even made in France. Well, it's being compounded in the United States, and that is not the same as being imported from France.